Hello, everyone. My name is Tim Tang from Hughes, and we're coming to you from the NAC Show 2022 trade show floor. I'm here today with Sridhar Sudarsan, the CTO of SparkCognition. Sridhar, can you tell us a little bit about what your roles and responsibilities are?
First of all, Tim, thank you very much for having me on the show, on your discussion here. I really appreciate it. My role at SparkCognition as the Chief Technology Officer, I'm responsible for all of our technology strategy, our product strategy, our engineering, and how we bring new products in the AI space and solutions that derive outcomes to the industrial space, including manufacturing, retail, oil and gas, renewables, energy space in general. And this is kind of our focus area. So obviously retail is one of our key industries, and that's why we're here.
Sridhar, let's start there then. How do you do your job? How do you take something as intangible like AI and machine learning and come up with tangible applications for retail?
It's a great question because one of the things, while AI and machine learning and these trends have picked up now over the last, I would say, let's say 10 years or so, it is still something that feels ethereal to a lot of people in terms of being able to understand the so what of it. And sometimes people get very mired in the means to the end, which is the data, the collection, the infrastructure, the algorithms that you apply, which are all ingredients into an AI approach or an AI solution. However, what we focus on is how do you take all of that complexity that is involved in that, all the mathematics, all the linguistics, all the vision technologies, all the algorithm, data science approaches, and the scale, and how do you convert it to business outcomes that are really what the businesses, the enterprises, the industries, whether you're the head of operations, the head of marketing, the head of a business unit, what you really care about, the so what of it. And that's what we bring to market. So if it's part of my role every single day, that's what I think about is how do I take all of this innovation, which is the cool and the fun part, very stimulating part. The second part of it is how do you deploy it in a way that is scalable, because it's not just about doing a little POC here, a little POC there. Mm-hmm. I think that's fun, but necessary, but not sufficient. What is really interesting is how do you take all of that at scale? And the third part of it, which is how do you actually convert that and translate that into actionable insights, actionable outcomes for a technician, a seller, a PDM in a retailer, an inventory manager, a merchandiser, and a store manager, an operator. All of these are different roles that have a different set of things that they're trying to go after every single day.
Wow.
And it's all about how can we bring these tools to make their life easy.
Can you maybe take us through an example? How do you do this? What kind of framework do you do, and what is your thought process like?
So maybe I'll take a couple of different examples. So since a lot of our audience here are in the retail industry, maybe I'll take an example of, let's say, a convenience store, where maybe all of us are familiar with that, and we're here at NAC, so I think it's probably more relevant here for this audience as well. But the same thing applies to grocery or electronics or big box retail or forecourt in the gas station industry as well. So let's take a simple example of knowing your customer as an example. How much do you know your customer, and how much do you not know about the people that are coming into your store who are not quite your customers yet? And what does that look like? So how do you sort of translate that information and take the appropriate action? Now, as the person who runs sales or marketing for a store or for a chain of stores for an entire company, what they're constantly looking for is how do I provide excellent customer experience to the people that are walking into my store? Well, the first thing you need to know is what is the journey of that customer into a physical store, as an example. And physical stores are not going away anywhere anytime soon. I think it's going to be an aggregation of online and physical stores. I think we all, as long as we as humans exist, there's always going to be this need to touch and feel things. So how do you sort of track the journey of that person through the store? How long are they spending time in a certain aisle, in a certain section? What direction are they looking at? What products are attracting them? How do you actually stock the inventory within the store? What products are they picking up? considering, but then not buying. Do you know that? You probably don't have that information other than perhaps anecdotal data. But imagine now taking advantage of cameras that are already within your store, your stores are equipped with cameras, but being able to now use that in an anonymized fashion, but really knowing that, hey, a person really spent time looking at these products, but they're not buying it. But more importantly now, aggregating that over a week, over a month, and then finding out that there's either something wrong with the product, placement, location, or the type of customer that is actually doing that. But if you don't know that, you cannot take the action. So this is about collecting visual data. In this case, there is no sale that was made, so you don't have the point of sale data. But in other cases, you might have that. Being able to combine both of these things, and now as the person who runs the marketing or runs the product placements within that store, how do I now apply that insight? That is something that I don't know, because I'm not an expert on retail like you are. But if I provide you with that information and that insight, not the data, but the insight, you can make that decision. You can make appropriate decisions, test these out. And the beauty of an AI system is that it learns. Right. So it's not a one-time, business rule that you set up, you're done with it, but you're constantly setting these up, you're testing it. In the tech world, you have this continuous beta notion, where you're constantly learning, assessing, evolving, and growing along with the journey that your customers, your inventory, your vendors are all sort of coming together. That's what we're providing here for you. So to me, that's a simple example, but hopefully that kind of brings the point.
That's tremendous. I was wondering maybe if you could expand a little bit more on that in terms of what kinds of problems is AI most well suited to address and deal with, in terms of what types of things are you looking for? What kinds of learnings are you trying to leverage the AI's learning capability to solve?
So in the retail space, I think if that as an open question can be probably multiple hours of such sessions that we can have. But if I may sort of narrow that question down into applying, let's say, for the retail audience, to me, there's obviously, we can start from the bottoms up, which is what kind of data do you have? You have point of sale, you have CRM information, you have product data, you have inventory data. How do you make sense of it? That's sort of a bottoms up approach that I think sometimes people tend to take. And it's like, I have all this data, what can I do with it? It's one way of thinking about the problem. The other way that I like to think about is, what problems are we trying to solve, and what problems have we not even thought about today? So if I start from there, then the intelligence can be applied, and then the data becomes sort of a means to the end. So as an example, if you take a retail, and this is any retail, by the way, there are 3 or 4 big areas that I have consistently heard about, including the last couple of days at this conference, which is talk about loss prevention. It's a big problem. It's something that is very important in this industry. You think about merchandising, inventory management. You think about operations in your store, right? How are my employees doing? Are they actually spending enough time with the customer? Are there unauthorized people in areas where there shouldn't be? Now, if you think about solving all of these problems, you can probably get lost in all the different data sets that you need to look at. One approach that we have taken is to apply vision technology, computer vision technology, using infrastructure that you likely already have within your store. So for example, almost every store that I'm aware of in the US has cameras both inside and some outside the stores as well, right? The degree of connection of cameras can vary, and this is obviously something that Hughes, as an example, works on, but there are cameras that already are present. However, the information from that camera is being used very passively, if at all. So what do I mean by that? Which means that you either are not even looking at that camera feeds because they're going into some DVR system, and then it expires after whatever expiration policy that people have, and it's gone, right? Or you have in some companies, they have many monitors, and they have people that are actually looking at a large number of monitors and screens to then observe certain kinds of behavior and pattern. But we all know, as humans, if I have 10 screens, it's hard enough for me to watch one TV screen and follow every single thing going on. And imagine now, people that are looking at many screens and staring at them all day long. There's always things that can be missed, right? So you're only getting sort of snapshots of things that you care about. But in some cases, maybe that's sufficient. In most cases, it's not. So what we're saying is this is passive data that is not being used for infrastructure that you've already paid for and that you already have. So how do we convert that into an active sensor that is almost becoming an omniscient manager for you, that is being able to track inventory, product, merchandise, your back office, your front office, your customers, and be able to give you the insights? Wouldn't that be wonderful? That's the core technology that we've applied, that we're trying to sort of bring into the retail space because it's easier for people to get.
In today's marketplace, where we're the retail, C-stores, restaurant, all industries right now are struggling with labor shortage right now.
That's right.
And you can't find the labor, you can't hire the people. And when you do hire the people, they don't have the background or the experience to do the job. And so it begs the question of how do we take data and how do we use that to simplify the job so that somebody with less experience can still handle the responsibilities in a very competent manner?
It's such a timely topic about labor shortage right now, hitting every single industry, and especially in retail, which has already had a lot of turnover in the past, and now it's just continuing to grow. So to me, the only way to actually resolve that is with a combination of humans and intelligence.
Yes.
Using like a computer vision technology like we provide, our visual advisor, visual AI-based advisor for retail. What it essentially does, so let's take a simple example of you have, let's say, 4 checkout counters at a store, small store obviously, and you have 4 people. Well, that's expensive to manage, number one, but let's say you might have 2 people. Well, then you don't know whether you're handling peak capacity or you're having people coming into the store and leaving because there's lines that they can't handle, etc. So how do you sort of handle all of that? Well, one way we can do it is by, let's use the same vision technology as I was talking about. So I don't know if people can see videos playing in the back, but let's say you have a forecourt and you see the number of cars coming in. Now you see that there's a spate of, let's say, 20 cars that came in within a 10-minute period. You could use that time, you could use that as a trigger to now activate and maybe move people around within the store and say, hey, with very little training, can you come and help out at the front desk, or can you come and help out to guide these the traffic movement of the people within the store and help them out, rather than them doing it all the time. So multitasking, because as you said, the training is not as steep as it was before. So since you already make that assumption, can you not actually take one step further and multitask people? But then the question is, where do you multitask them? How do you multitask them? Well, this is the way you do it, right? You do it based on triggers that are real time, that are notified. So I keep going back to this comment about actionable insights.
Yes.
This is a simple action, right? Saying I have a watch, I have an iPhone, I have a phone, I have a regular phone. I'm getting a notification saying, hey, can you please help out the cashier for the next 20 minutes? Great, I'm happy to go do that. I'll do whatever I need to do. Second thing, compliance. Okay, I was in the back office, I was doing, let's say a cleanup, or I was doing something else. Can I make sure that I wash my hands before I go to the front? Now, if I have a camera that is sort of right there, I can tell that this person didn't go. Well, immediately I send an alert to the person saying, please go back, wash your hands before you go to the front of the store. So rather than just putting a simple sign, now I'm actually monitoring. Obviously, if there was an actual manager at the store, he or she would have reminded the person. This is back to the omniscient manager at the store who is really telling that. And so now you're taking it to the next level, right? So this is not just monitoring, but this is proactive actioning of certain things. Now, let's say there are 3 people at the front desk, and there's like 20 people that have gone in and out the bathroom. It's not been an hour. Maybe you're cleaning your bathroom every hour, but you're now you know that, hey, there's been a high volume in the last, let's say 25 minutes. Can you please notify someone to go clean the bathroom now? Because one of the, at least in the convenience store spaces, one of the most common reasons topmost reasons for why people do or don't visit one is because of the cleanliness of the bathroom, right? This was, I think, one of the studies that was done a few years ago. And so being able to be proactive. So applying AI is all about using intelligence to be very provide spot insight and actions so that the appropriate person knows about it, they take the action, you move on. Now you see person and machine intelligence, human and machine intelligence working together to really enhance the experience for everybody involved, the store, the operators, the owners, the customers, right, who is the ultimate sort of people that you want to enhance the experience for. What does that do? Well, it drives excellence. It delights people, right? I think we're all happier, and I think we all want to look for things to do that. So.
You're describing a world where you could easily envision how employees might be self-motivated now, that they know that whatever work that they do, whether it is keeping the shelves stocked appropriately or keeping the bathrooms clean, they will be noted for, they will be observed, they will get credit for, and they will be realized that, all the things that I do actually matter, account, could be even gamified to some extent to have them self-motivated to basically drive up their own and improve their own performance.
Absolutely. In fact, there are certain stores that we're running this in where there are several thousand outlets that they have. And that's exactly what they've done, is now that you have the ability to know what is going on at all times, rather than just a spot check or a monthly audit or so on, you can actually reward, like you can create employees of the month, you can create a store of the month, you can almost create a ranking board, a leaderboard that is ongoing and updated, very objective, right? There's very transparent metrics that is driven by the corporate need, by the owner's needs. In the case of sort of small businesses, it's being driven down to everybody. Everybody's rowing in the same direction. I think that's what moves the ship forward, so to speak, right? So it is very true. It's actually, on the other screens, we have our dashboards that show essentially exactly that, which is, month to month, day to day, you can see how those things are moving. And people feel happy, right? People want to, not just the customers, but when you make your employees happy, your customers are happy.
Listening to you talk, I'm kind of interested now in maybe a human study that says, when you have these kinds of solutions in play, does the employee-manager relationship actually improve? Because a lot of the simple nagging stuff is already taken care of because it's already automated and the employee knows what they should do. Could you maybe provide some guidance on the limitations of AI today? What kinds of problems is it not well suited for? Where should we be thinking about not using AI, and what characterizes the sweet spot of the kinds of problems that it's really well suited for?
Yeah, so actually, before I answer that, I want to make a comment on the human component that you made, the people to manager relationship comment you made earlier, because we service using our vision and our other sensor technologies in a variety of different industries, as I mentioned at the beginning. And when you talk about computer vision and cameras, there's always a little bit of a skepticism about, hey, is there a big brother, watching us kind of a deal. I think this is actually the opposite, which is you don't really need humans to watch videos anymore, but you're actually getting proactive notifications, and you as an employee can get notified, reminders. It's not always comes from bad intentions or ill intentions. It's sometimes, it's just fatigue, it's tiredness, it's a variety of different things. So being able to sort of have those reminders makes people do things a lot better, makes the managers, sort of feel a lot better. And so once people get over that, that initial little hump of, hey, is somebody always watching me, and saying, well, if the manager was here, they would always be watching me. So technically, I'm not changing anything, number one. Number two, I have videos to go look at everything, right? So you've already equipped your store with cameras, which means technically you already have all the videos. Yeah. In this case, no human is needing to watch it because you're getting all these notifications done. So you're only working on the actions that you really need to. So we've actually seen that journey, because we've talked to some companies that have had, labor unions and things like that. And it actually has been good, because ultimately when people realize that this is benefiting them. So we've talked about safety use cases as well, like we do gun detection or weapon detection. And if you think about, everybody wants to be in a safe environment. Yeah. We all do. I think given the violence sort of incidents that we're all seeing every day around all of us, I think these are things that we're trying to protect and create a warm, safe, friendly, happy environment for people. So I think once people realize that, it is a curve change in terms of how the people-to-people relationship changes. It's not just employee-manager; it's employee-customer, it's customer-manager. It's the whole ecosystem completely.
And I would like to highlight one thing you said. We're not collecting new data. We're using data that is already being collected.
That's exactly right. You're just applying intelligence to it.
Excellent, excellent.
And to your question about what are the limitations of AI, I think at a broad level, if you sort of truly expand the landscape, every time there is the need for scale, where humans sort of we are the weakest at, technology sort of comes out better. Whenever there's an emotional aspect involved or required, I think that's where you still want the human piece to be there, right? You don't want to necessarily apply complete objective intelligence. So what we talked about as being an advantage in terms of being objective for the employee of the month, there might be other times when there is a bias that might be needed. So in those cases, still, I wouldn't say it's a limitation, but it's a judgment call on where you do or don't want to apply technology like that. But honestly, from a technological standpoint, from a scale standpoint, from a cost efficiency optimization standpoint, the sky is the limit, right? I mean, we've seen the number of applications continue to grow rapidly over the last 10, 15 years. I mean, this AI has been around for the last 59 years. But there was the winter because of how expert systems handled things back 4 or 5 decades ago, and then now we've come up with the cost of processing has gone down, the ability to apply intelligence has been more and more democratized, and then by solutions like we bring to the table being very pointed, very focused, outcome driven, it's become easier to consume for our customers, for our ecosystem of players that are working in this space. I think you're going to see more and more of this. So the bar is going to be raised every single day, every single week, every single month. And honestly, I think the way that we are all growing and seeing the world evolve, there's no way that you can do things without using AI or machine intelligence augmented with the human intelligence. And I think we're going to continue to stretch the bar, stretch the boundaries of both as we go forward.
That's an interesting point that you're making there. I mean, metrics and KPIs really only tell a part of the story. And maybe it provides some structure at a scale, broad level of trying to understand where an issue may or may not arise. But there's still a need for a human element to basically interpret the metrics and try to understand what type of intervention is required and the like. Just maybe one last question then, from this point kind of moving forward, how are you thinking about what needs to happen next? How do we get the most, or how should we adjust our thinking now when it relates to applying AI to get commercial value?
So to me, it's all about start from the outcome. Focus on scale and not just little innovation type things. Unlike most of the projects we've thought about in the past, there's a very serial approach we take, one step at a time. When you think about an AI-based problem, if you artificially silo the problem, you're going to get only a part of the answer, which is probably not going to be the right answer. So data, unlike most of the other things, the more you have it, the broader you have it, the better the intelligence can be. It's almost like if you and I are trying to go get a degree in in a completely new field, let's say medicine. I'm sorry, I don't know if you have a background in that or not, but let's say we're going to go try get a degree in that space. Both of us would benefit from having a variety of different contextualized information that we can do. We're limited by your and my brain capacity and time and bandwidth. With the technology, that is not so much of a limitation. So how do you sort of think opposite? Don't think about one use case, one POC, and then go figure out and then go, because you're already slowing your progress, number one. Number two, you're also probably artificially narrowing the problem too much.
Okay.
So instead, think broad, start from the business core outcome you're looking for, then think about what existing infrastructure you have, cameras, data sets, sensors, systems, and use that to the maximum to get to some or all of those outcomes, and then start thinking about what you don't have. And how do you go work through that, right? Instead of trying to say, I'm first going to collect all data, then I'm going to go figure out what to do with it, then I'm going to go hire a bunch of data scientists. That is, I think I'm talking about reversing that whole thinking process and start with the business outcome and then go backwards from there. Go down from there.
That makes a tremendous amount of sense. Sridhar, thank you. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for that insight, and thank you for the guidance on how to. You've provided us with a framework for how to think about operationalizing AI for the retail environment. Everyone, I've been speaking with Sridhar Sudarsan from the CTO of SparkCognition, and we're coming to you from the NACS show 2022 trade show floor.
Thank you very much for having me, Tim.
Thank you.